There's a Walmart when you enter, a Walmart when you exit, 4 in the middle, and next to the Waffle House.
You go to a national park to enjoy natural beauty. You want to see something that's preserved. You want to see wild animals. And if it just feels like you're at Giant Mall, then what's the point?
Zion is located at the junction of the Colorado Plateau, Great Basin, and Mojave Desert. And this park contains sandstone features such as mesas, rock towers, and canyons, including the Virgin River Narrows. Roosevelt, he said, there is nothing so American as our national parks. The fundamental idea behind the parks is that the country belongs to the people. Situated on the Yellowstone caldera, the park has an expansive network of geothermal areas, including boiling mud pots, vividly colored hot springs such as Grand Prismatic Spring, and regularly erupting geysers. The largest is Wrangell St. Elias. That park is 3 times bigger than the Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, and Yosemite combined. The farther one gets into the wilderness, the greater is the attraction of its lonely freedom. That is a quote from Teddy Roosevelt, and I also wish I was enjoying lonely freedom right now, but alas, I'm saddled here with Dr. Buster. How is your summer going?
What's stopping you? Stand up right now, leave the podcast recording, and go outside. This is America. Aren't you free? Home of the free, the brave? Go outside.
We'll see how much longer we're free, but that's another discussion, am I right?
Go be alone outside if you want. No one's strapping you here with me.
Buster, I feel a certain obligation to fulfill my duties to the listeners who've come to expect a weekly dose of Nick Emel in their lives.
Much like people who are unfortunately addicted, while they do rely on you, it doesn't mean that it makes their life any better once they get the next fix. It just gets them back to that basement level that they were already feeling.
I don't recall saying that their lives were better, because I just recall saying that they depend on me.
Well, I'm sure you've just increased the listeners' enjoyment of the Tinnish podcast by telling them that you do in fact feel obligated to make them a new episode each week. That really gets that gets people invested.
No, this is quality content. You should keep going.
It is.
All right.
Well,
I asked you a question. How's your summer going?
Summer is good. Yeah, here we go. See, that's why I don't even answer the question. There's no point. There's no point.
There's a point. We'll get to it. Okay. And I want to know for real. How's your summer going?
So, you want? Okay. Yep. There it is. I almost even gave a real answer there.
How is your summer going? God damn it. We don't got all day.
Apparently it's pretty fucking boring. How about yours?
Well, yeah. It's going. And here, as I record this, by the time it comes out, it will have already happened. But as we're recording this, I'm getting ready to go to my first trip to Yellowstone National Park.
Okay.
Have you been?
Yes.
And?
I did not understand the fascination
Hot take.
with the geysers and all of the water features in the south half of the park. We spent the grand majority of our time looking for grizzlies and wolves, which we got to see, and that was my favorite part of Yellowstone, is just the density of wildlife, but all the water features can fuck right off.
Well, it's because anytime you want to see a geyser, you just head to the bathroom and you're set.
Sure, right, yeah.
So Yellowstone, you've been there, but what's the most recent national park you've been to? I know you've been to several. I didn't ask you what you want for lunch. I asked you the last national park.
It's been a while since I've been to a national park, unfortunately. There for a while we were going to a lot of them, but since having a child, God, we haven't got to go to
why would you do that? Why did you do that? Don't have a child. But you should go to national parks. And I'm laying the hints on pretty heavy today. You're going to be guessing the top 10 most visited national parks in America.
Okay.
They're ranked by the total number of people that visited the parks in the year 2023. This information comes directly from the National Park Service and with some additional context added from National Geographic, Smithsonian, USA Today, and when necessary, our friends at Wikipedia.
Sure.
Buster, before we get too deep in, I need to remind the listeners that this episode comes out on Wednesday, August 7th, but tomorrow, Thursday, August 8th, you and I will be going live with our friends Alex and Steven on a stream on our YouTube channel. We're going to play a game together, and we need you, the listeners, to pick the winner. Buster may or may not be clothed. Join us live Thursday night, August 8th, 9 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. You can find the link in our show notes, and you should also subscribe to our YouTube channel so you'll get notified of other future live streams as well. Buster, tell me, what is a national park?
It is a park that also identifies as a country, right?
Well, actually, Congress designated the first national park, which was...
It was somewhere out west, wasn't it? It's
Yellowstone.
Oh,
Yellowstone was the first national park in the year 1872, and Congress designated it as a, quote, public park or pleasuring ground, baby, for the benefit
So
and
is my
enjoyment of
house
the
a
people.
national park? I didn't know that. It's not. The last time I saw the list of all the national parks in the country, it wasn't listed.
I think it was delisted after some government officials visited and saw what it really was.
it
They
was
just saw a bunch of geysers, no pleasure.
It was delisted for sure.
Wow, okay. But national parks have come to offer and protect much more. To help protect these spaces, visitors are asked to leave no trace. Basically, a national park is a protected plot of land that the government protects to preserve it for as long as possible.
Yes. Now, Mr. Smart Guy, do you know what distinguishes a national park from a national lakeshore or a national range?
So National Park Service actually protects something like 500 pieces of land. There's national forests, national monuments, national lakes, like you said. The national park, there's 63 of those as of the date we are recording. And I don't have it in front of me, but what is the difference?
I remember my first show. Damn.
It's between national.
I know this. It is the top tier of the National Park Service. So if you just have like a little bit of bullshit to go see, then you're probably going to be like a lakeshore or a monument. If it's wide open land, but there's no infrastructure, there's not much for people to do. So if you're not like Bear Grylls, then you're not going to be backpacking, going out there on your own. So that'd just be a national forest. National parks have to have all of the above. Beautiful scenery, protected land, infrastructure, ideally a bathroom, roads in and out, things for families to do. And it's kind of like the top tier 3 Michelin star rated of the protected lands.
And it says here in a quick Google search that the national parks are highly vested in preservation, barely altering the existing state. While national forests, for example, are managed for many purposes, including timber, grazing, wildlife, fish, and more. So, whatever. What Buster said, basically.
I'm yelling timber. If I could remember the rest of the chorus, I would have sung it. But I was trying to think who even sang that song.
All right. Since the National Park Service started keeping records in the year 1904, its mountain landscapes, seaside wildernesses, and high desert acres have registered more than 16 billion visits. Now, Buster, who would you say is the father of the national park
Teddy Roosevelt
idea? Teddy Roosevelt, while he was not president during the time of the first national park, which was Yellowstone in 1872, he became president in 1901 through 1909, and of all of his achievements, he was proudest of his work in the conservation of natural resources and extending federal protection to land and wildlife. He established the U.S. Forest Service, signed into law the creation of 5 national parks, and signed the 1906 Antiquities Act, under which he proclaimed 18 new U.S. national monuments. He also established the first 51 bird reserves and 150 national forests, more than any other president by far. In the area of the United States that he placed under public protection totals approximately 230 million acres, or 930,000 kilometers.
Damn.
My boy liked the outdoors.
And it's legit. It really is cool. I love national parks, and I love that they were set up in this way and that they've only grown in number and size. I think it's super important. But my big question is,
for sure,
the election that Teddy Roosevelt won, allegedly, was that also a stolen election? Like what seems to be...
Well, let's see. If he was a Democrat, it was stolen. And if he was a Republican, it was a fair election.
Fair game. Right. Oh, yeah. Gotcha. That's how it works.
Now, quick sidebar that I didn't know much about Teddy Roosevelt years ago, but I learned a lot about him from my OG sidekick host, Brandon Kaufman, who was a big Teddy fan, read a bunch of autobiographies about Teddy, and kind of clued me into how important Teddy was to the national park and national, protected lands in America. So this episode is dedicated to Brandon. Now, Buster, there are currently 63 national parks in the United States. Visitors are drawn to the vastness and variety of America's best idea, quote, America's best idea. From sea to shining sea, as well as the wilds of Alaska and Hawaii, the National Park Service's 85 million acres encompasses 150,000 miles of rivers and streams and over 21,000 miles of trails. And with that, I'll turn you loose. These are ranked based on the total number of visitors in the year 2023. Buster, let's hear it.
Why are you going to Yellowstone, first of all?
I've always wanted to go, and there's a chance to go with some in-laws, and we'll see how that goes.
So the
good thing about Yellowstone is if things aren't going well with the in-laws, I can just fucking jump into some geyser and fucking...
No. First of all, we already know things aren't going well with your in-laws. You don't have to say if. Thanks for trying to be nice. Second, don't commit suicide yourself. What you do is go up to the northern area where the wild animals more frequently are.
Sure.
Get him really close to a bison, say, hey, you know what? My in-laws I love more than anybody else in this world. Get right up to that bison. They really love it if you pet them and if you take flash photography about 10 feet from their face. And then
I'm saying this to the in-laws so that the in-laws
right.
would do it.
Yeah, so then let nature take its course. And if that doesn't work, then maybe, tie some raw meat to them and leave them outside with the wolves and the grizzly. I don't know.
I like how you just assume that my in-laws are completely dumb to the point that they'll just buy anything I say, and they'll also let me tie raw meat to their bodies, and they won't question it.
If they're anything like my in-laws.
Fucking in-laws, am I right? Well, Buster, I know you often tie raw meat to yourself and go out into these national parks. I have so many
questions. Who on this planet has ever said, I'm going to a national park soon because I get to go with my in-laws? Were they like already going to Yellowstone and they invited you?
Yes, that. Is that so hard to believe?
Yeah.
The very first scenario you threw out is it.
I don't know why anyone would invite you somewhere. I mean, it's just.
Oh, well, there's that.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing about Yellowstone, it's big. So I can go with them and be near them. They don't have to be that close to me.
And hopefully the giant, massive supervolcano underneath it explodes right about the time you and your family step out of the car.
They're willing to sacrifice themselves on the 1 in a billion chance that when I go, the volcano will erupt.
When I was at Yellowstone, I was nervous about the supervolcano eruption and just thinking about it the whole time. And then I thought, where I live in Wisconsin, I'd be equally as dead. So it doesn't matter whether I'm there or not.
Exactly.
So.
And I have notes about the supervolcano later. But yes, if that sumbitch blows, then everyone on Earth will feel even if people in other countries don't die, the volcanic ash that blankets the Earth will be noticed by them.
Probably about twice as big as our residence the morning after we eat Taco Bell, I would think. Something like that.
Wait, say it again?
It'd be about twice the size of the eruptions that occur within my household the day after we've eaten some Taco Bell. Okay, all right, we'll give you...
I'm just letting the listeners digest. I'm just letting them digest.
Oh, there's no...
I think they really enjoyed that one.
There's no digesting when it comes to Taco Bell. That's
I know you're a frequent patron to Taco Bell.
That's what we call forced entry and forced exit.
That's what we call a natural disaster.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Top 10 most visited. I've not been here.
When you're done with your, what is that, your third or fourth shit joke of the day, when you're ready for number 5, let me know. But for now, I need you to guess a national park.
I've not been to this one, but someone went there recently over the winter, and they said it was so crowded that it ruined their experience.
Someone went there recently. Well, if someone went there recently, then yeah, I bet it might be on this top 10 list.
I'm going to guess Acadia National Park in Maine.
In Maine. Well, I can tell you that you're mainly correct because Acadia is on this list. But where do you think it is?
Where is it on the list?
Yes. You speak English?
8.
No, I know that Taco Bell creates eruptions in your house. Did you mean it erupts your brain as well? Your brain can't guess?
We all know Buster's bad at guessing lists. This has been established. It's like saying...
Hashtag Buster's bad at guessing lists, and it's been established. Send out the hashtag on your social media site.
It's like saying the sky is blue, grass is green. We know. We don't have to say it.
It's not number 8. You should be really embarrassed. It's number 7.
Oh...
Okay, number 7. It's in Maine. I have not been there either. The number of people that visited in the year 2023 is 3.9 million people. This national park was established as a national park in the year 1919. It's probably around a few years before that. It covers most of the Mount Desert Island and other coastal islands. It features the tallest mountain on the Atlantic coast of the United States. It also has granite peaks, ocean shoreline, woodlands, and lakes. And on this top 10 list, it is the smallest national park by land area, about 49,000 acres.
And how many Walmarts?
There's a Walmart when you enter, a Walmart when you exit, 4 in the middle, and next to the Waffle House.
Excellent. Well, it sounds like my kind of place.
Yeah. Your friend, someone that visited said it was too crowded?
Yeah. So this was off season. It was in the winter, so not great weather. And still, lines for everything. Couldn't hardly hike. You were constantly sidestepping, letting people go past. they just said it was too busy. You go to a national park to enjoy natural beauty. You want to see something that's preserved. You want to see wild animals. And if it just feels like you're at Giant Mall, then what's the point? Is kind of my perspective.
It's funny because when I was reading about Acadia, it said that because it's in Maine, the peak season is in such a small window of time. It's like the summer months, basically. So so many people are concentrated in that short amount of time. But your friend went in the wintertime and it was still like that. So,
but I've heard it's beautiful, green, foggy, neat-looking mountains. I'd love to go,
they're neat,
but I don't want to have to deal with the folks. The overcrowding has ruined several of my national park experiences, which I'm sure we'll get into.
What's the solution?
They're guaranteed on this list. I don't know. There is no solution because, for one, if there's a place that's that popular, that's not just someone's cell phone or a sporting event or a shopping mall, and we're asking people to return to a natural state of nature, and that goal is so popular that it's overcrowded, I don't know if there's anything you can do other than maybe try to establish more trails through more remote sections of a park. But then, that gets sticky because you're taking away less 100% preserved private land from animals and such. I don't know. And if a trip, although crowded, to a national park can get someone to be inspired and care about conservation, then it might be worth it. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tricky situation.
One potential solution is to have a cap on the number of people that enter.
A daily cap.
Sure. A lot of these parks, like Disney World, allegedly has this, although fuck, if you go to Disney World on a busy day, it's miserable with people. But Disney World has I've heard, has a cap on the number of tickets they'll sell for any given day. It should lower, but that's beside the point. So national parks, I know not all of them sell tickets to get in, but a lot of them will have like an entry point, and you could put signage along the way that says, hey, we're full for the day. I don't know. Like, that doesn't seem perfect either, but...
It just happened to us. We went to Chicago for the weekend. We tried to go to the aquarium. We were standing in a big, long line outside, and we kind of thought, I wonder if we have to have tickets in advance. We went to the website. Sure as shit, you cannot get in without prepaid tickets, so we had to leave and come back at a later time. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. The only thing I've seen in that vein so far is there are certain parts of the park, like Angel's Landing in a certain park that I'll be guessing soon, that you have to get a random lottery ticket for each day to be able to access that part of the park. So maybe they do that whole thing for the entire park itself. I don't know.
We don't know, bub. But Acadia is number 7.
And I am hopeful that we can establish more and more national parks and maybe even let these national parks as they stand expand with time. But maybe that's a pipe dream.
Well, that sounds like hippie shit to me.
But the truth
you
is...
mentioned Angel's Landing.
There's just some parts of America that are not going to be good enough to attract the notation of a national park. It's not going to happen.
How about the parking lot of the Dollar General in small
Kansas.
Town in Alabama? You think we should put that as a national park?
I think so.
Well, when the world ends and we're all there's no more electricity and there's dust in the air and we're all traveling, on foot, in this hellscape, it's possible that a parking lot at a Dollar General, somewhere like that, might at that time be a desirable place.
Yeah.
We just don't know.
The rest of the world will be so hard and angry and terrible that to go inside a Waffle House would be like coming to a national monument.
Well, I mean, we say that as a joke, but if the world ends hundreds of years from now, you go into a Waffle House and it's still standing and it looks the way it did when it was still in use, that would be an interesting monument to the past.
And the same waffle that somebody cooked up pre-world devolution is still going to be sitting there on the plate, fresh as can be. And we'll have waited for you for 200 years.
And Buster, how long before you shove that waffle up your ass, be honest?
Well, it depends on how quickly I can get in there. If someone beats me to it.
Forced entry, like you said.
Well, I'm getting kind of hungry for waffles.
He just... Okay, I think we're done with that. You mentioned Angel's Landing. Where's that?
That's in Zion National Park in Utah. And I'm going to guess...
And I remember...
That's further up.
Hang on. You and I went to Zion like within a year of each other. I remember we were texting about it. And you mentioned at that time, if I recall, that you didn't love Zion because it was like the Disney World of theme parks. It was so crowded and busy. So keep that in mind when you guess its number.
I think it's going to be high. I'm going number 2.
Well, you're an idiot again because it's number 3.
3.
Zion National Park. It's in Utah. There's 4.6 million people visited last year. It, too, just like Acadia, was established in the year 1919. I've been to Zion. Let's keep track, you and I, of how many of these we've each been to, and we'll see which one of us is more worldly at the end of this episode.
That's going to be me, folks. Spoiler alert.
Listen to him. Listen to him. Zion is located at the junction of the Colorado Plateau, Great Basin, and Mojave Desert. And this park contains sandstone features such as mesas, rock towers, and canyons, including the Virgin River Narrows. Did you do the Narrows when you were there?
I did not. We did not.
Yeah, we did, and it was an experience. I'll tell you about it in a minute. The various sandstone formations and the forks of the Virgin River create a wilderness divided into 4 ecosystems: desert, riparian, woodland, and coniferous forest.
Damn, the forests eat meat?
Huh?
The forests eat meat?
What did I say?
They're carnivorous.
Coniferous.
I was like, man, no wonder this place is popular.
Can we go back to Taco Bell jokes? I mean, even those were better. The Narrows, for those that don't know, is this huge canyon, and you can walk through it in the water. It's like waist high. And we walked for miles in waist high water, and shit was cold. That's all I'm going to say. Shit was cold. My balls were shrinking.
Yeah, I don't get the draw of the Narrows. Like, sure, it sounds nice, but
it's beautiful.
At any moment, you could have some extra rainwater come in, and your ass would be drowning.
Drowning?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's why I went. I took some in-laws and hoped that it would drown that day.
You're just banking on the fact that you were a better swimmer than they were.
It's like I said this to her about our friend Steven one time, who's on the show often, Stephen Clark. I said that the only reason we invite him to places and have him meet us places is the 1 in 1,000 chance that he gets a car accident on the way to meet us. So
now, folks,
that's the humor we employ.
I'll shit all over Zion for being too busy. I will say, magnificent place,
beautiful place,
very beautiful.
Oh
my gosh, what a unique canyon. It's hard to describe the rock
How do we get
formations.
that canyon to booty clap like your canyon?
You're gonna need some torque, a great amount of torque.
Oh yeah.
Do you have any notes about Angel's Landing and people dying? Because no, thank you.
I did see that there are some deaths there. I don't have it in my notes, but do you know anything off the top of your head?
And for anyone who doesn't know, it's a very thin stretch of rock that kind of curves up to the left. And I would say it's about 100 to 200 feet up this little stretch of rock. But that's...
Wait, there's 100 to 200 feet decapitated along the trail?
And you go out on this tiny little sliver of rock that also winds up, kind of like a shoddy staircase. But if you fall off either side of this, like, I would say 6 to 7 foot wide outcropping, it's probably 800 foot drop, if not 1,000.
God damn.
And there's chains that you're supposed to hold on to these chains to go up to the top. And there's a sign that says, do this at your own risk. Such and such, I think it's probably said an average of 12 people fall off and die a year. So, didn't do it. No thanks.
What are you going to do, bub? We didn't do it either, but we didn't do it because either what you were saying earlier, like it was either sold out for the day or they wouldn't let us in or it was too crowded or the line was too long. I don't remember. Something like that. Like it was going to be too inconvenient to do it, so we didn't do it. But I would do it.
I get it. I get the draw. But when someone falls off and everybody else in their party is like screaming and crying as they fall down, I just want to look at them and say, like, did you think it wasn't going to happen to you? Did you think Did you think that sign was for everyone else but you?
Well, we need to put a sign like that near your booty for the booty club. And we need to install a chain nearby to hold on to so you didn't get blown away by the force. Anyway, Buster, tell me about the name Zion. What's it mean? Why is it named that?
I actually don't know.
Did you know that the original name, when President William Howard Taft, a listener of the show, in 1909, he named the area the Muckentuop National Monument. And I could be saying that wrong, obviously. It's Muckentuop. But in 1918, the acting director of the newly created National Park Service, Horace Albright, drafted a proposal to enlarge the existing monument and change the park's name to Zion National Monument. Zion is a term used by the Mormons. Let me remind myself what it means. I somehow didn't put that.
There's another national park that unfortunately had its name changed by the Mormons.
Zion is the name of a physical city founded by the prophet Enoch, also known as the City of Enoch. Zion refers to the New Jerusalem. So that's where the new name comes in. And the name change, quote, was played to a prevalent bias at the time. Many believed that the Spanish and Indian names would defer visitors who, if they could not pronounce the name of a place, might not bother to visit it. The new name Zion had greater appeal to an ethnocentric audience. What do you think about that, Buster? Do you think, right or wrong, do you think a hard-to-pronounce name could like subconsciously sway people from not.
For your average American, unfortunately, I think that's true. I mean, we just did a recent episode about medication, and think about the marketed brand name versus what the actual compound is called. And it's unfortunate, but I think it's true.
Anyway, anything else you want to say about Zion?
Don't go during peak times, and do expect to get into, at minimum, a physical altercation for a parking spot. But other than that, it's beautiful.
Cold testes and all, I recommend the Narrows.
Cold testes with
All
your
right.
besties.
Hi, everyone. Stephen Clark here to say that I think we can all agree that the news these days is almost all bad. Wars and scandals and insurrections and those goddamn expensive Taylor Swift tickets. But I'm here to tell you that not all news is bad, because my number one news source is the Tennis Podcast newsletter. It's a free monthly newsletter delivered right to my inbox that helps me stay up to date on the latest world news, like a first look at the upcoming Tennis Podcast episodes. Newsletter subscribers like me know the topics for a month's worth of upcoming episodes way in advance. And that means that I knew the topic of the episodes you're listening to right now like a month ago. It's like I'm a time traveler. Plus, as a newsletter subscriber, I get to consume Dr. Buster's exclusive blog, The Sidekick Corner. It's the next best thing to grabbing a handful of dap booty. If that's not enough, the newsletter also features behind-the-scenes updates from Nick, merch discount codes, and more. You just go to tennispod.com/newsletter, enter your email address, and you're in. You'll get the next Tennis Podcast newsletter in your inbox just like that. The link is in the show notes. Now, turn off that boring Fox News and come join me in getting the only news source you truly need, the Tennis Podcast newsletter.
Give me another guess.
Why don't we stick in that part of the country and guess Bryce Canyon?
Bryce Canyon's number 15.
15. Yo!
I visited Bryce Canyon as well. I mean, it was definitely less busy than Zion, but I think Zion's more breathtaking, if you will. But Bryce Canyon's really good, too.
Yeah, Bryce Canyon, I'm going to disagree with you, sir, and I'd say that's up there for one of my favorite visits of all time. I really enjoyed it.
Yes, but how much of that is affected by the crowds?
That's hard to say, but I do love...
Like, if you were just talking about the physical place, take the crowds out of it.
It's hard to. That in my mind, that's how I'm already ranking it. But I know that all of our biases are entangled and they affect our memories and our perceptions, so it's impossible.
All right, we don't need a fucking on your soapbox Dr. Buster psychologist. Okay, so give me a guess.
Tetons, the Grand Tetons National Park.
The Grand Tetons. Have you been to the Grand Tetons?
I have, and that's also one of my uber duper favorites.
Great.
Because I think it takes everything that's good about Yellowstone and probably triples it.
Triples it. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, where do you think it ranks on here?
8.
I'm going to give you a chance to rethink that.
6.
Wow, idiot. It's number 8. The Grand Teton Mountains. You didn't guess it.
I did.
You changed your guess. The official record will change. Grand Teton at number 8. It's located in Wyoming. 3.4 million visitors. Of the ones we've talked about so far, it's the newest. It was established in the year 1929. Grand Teton is not to be confused with Grand Teton, is the tallest mountain in the scenic Teton Range. The park's historic Jackson Asshole and reflective Piedmont lakes teem with endemic wildlife with a backdrop of craggy mountains that rise abruptly from the sage-covered valley below.
Yeah.
So what makes it triple?
Far better
the
wildlife because you
experience?
got less fucking amoeba-shaped human and floppy Americans stomping all over Yellowstone, driving their big-ass SUVs everywhere. Not as many people get up to Teton, and you can't really drive through. You have to hike in. And if you want the best views, I'd say it's a minimum of like a 10-mile round hike. So call me an asshole, but that makes it so that only a certain percentage of people who want to experience it on foot can get up there. And we saw way more wildlife, and the mountains are they're gorgeous. They're dramatic. I think it said like craggy or whatever, spiky.
Yeah, the mountains really, they complain about this other mountain stealing their boyfriend. A lot of drama.
They're iconic. And if you've ever seen any pictures of them, they're unique. I mean, they for some reason when a child draws a mountain, they're really vertical and jaggedy up top. Most mountains aren't like that. They're kind of a rolling hill that has a round top, but not these. These mountains in the Tetons they're just awesome. And we saw moose and grizzly and foxes up there. It was just legit.
Why don't you fucking marry the Tetons?
I would.
Jesus Christ. It's funny you mentioned wildlife because literally Yellowstone has more wildlife than Teton, according to my research. But maybe you see them less because there's more people around.
Yeah, and I think the Tetons is probably a lot smaller in land than Yellowstone. Yellowstone is a huge park.
It's huge, yeah. It's not the biggest, though. Grand Teton, though in a state of recession, a dozen small glaciers persist at the higher elevations near the highest peaks in the range. And the national park is an almost pristine ecosystem, and the same species of flora and fauna that have existed since prehistoric times can still be found there.
Now, if the mountains are in a recession, do we need to get some of those I did that Biden stickers and slap those?
Exactly. Trump's going to fix it, don't worry. I don't know if you saw the debate, but he had the best economy of all time.
God.
He said it. My last thing on Teton is that some of the rocks in the park are the oldest found in any national park and have been dated nearly 3 billion years old.
Whoa! Oh, in theory, allegedly.
I knew you were going to say that. Let me pause from the list for a minute to just read some random fun facts about our national parks. Visitation to the national parks, as Buster has alluded to, is at an all-time high. It's even beaten pre-COVID-19 pandemic records, which COVID-19 brought a big decrease, obviously, but we've bounced back. Teddy Roosevelt, we talked about him earlier. He used executive orders to establish 121 forest reserves in 31 states. And prior to Roosevelt, only one president had issued over 200 executive orders, Grover Cleveland. The first 25 presidents in total issued the same amount that Roosevelt issued of executive orders, over 1,000. And most of those executive, well, I don't know about most, but more than any other thing, the executive orders Roosevelt issued were about preserving land.
It's legit.
I think I failed to read, I have one more quote from him. Roosevelt, he said, "There is nothing so American as our national parks. The fundamental idea behind the parks is that the country belongs to the people, and that it is in process of making for the enrichment of the lives of us all."
There you go.
My boy liked national parks.
Yes, and I like him for it.
Hell of an ass, too.
We need far more lands that are treated like national parks to be preserved and to give back to the wildlife.
So which of the 63 parks that you have not yet guessed do you want to guess next?
You know, we've talked, unfortunately, I think that's number one, so I'm saving it.
I'll bet it's not.
Well, then how about we've been hurtsy skirting around Yellowstone this whole episode, so let's go for it.
It's not
Must
number
not
one.
be number
so
one.
What number is it?
So I'm going to guess number 2.
Number 4.
God.
You need
damn.
to really, you think you're so smart with your college degrees, you really need to do a psychoanalysis on yourself and find out what deep-seated, rooted issues are causing you to guess so poorly.
Those are the truest words that you've uttered in a long time.
Really? Okay. I say a lot of true things, so it's surprising you'd say that. All right. Yellowstone is located at number 4. It's in Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. There's 4.5 million visitors last year, and it is the first national park established in 1872 by President Ulysses S.
By Ulysses?
More on that in a second. Are you done? Can I keep going, or are you going to interrupt me
go
some
ahead.
more with some bullshit? All right. Situated on the Yellowstone caldera, the park has an expansive network of geothermal areas, including boiling mud pots. I think I've seen some of those. Vividly colored hot springs, such as Grand Prismatic Spring, and regularly erupting geysers, the best known being Buster's House at Taco Bell. Sorry, Old Faithful. Is the most known. More than 60 mammal species, including timberwolves, grizzly bears, black bears, lynxes, bison, and elk, make this park one of the best wildlife viewing spots in the country. Now, it is the largest national park on the list, not the largest out of all of them, over 2.2 million acres. When you look at all national parks, including those not on the list, Yellowstone is the 7th largest.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yellowstone was actually made official by Grant in 1872, but ongoing poaching and destruction of natural resources continued unabated until Teddy Roosevelt and others were successful in carrying through the Park Protection Act, which saved the park in the year 1900.
Yeah. And some good news.
So even though it was a national park, it continued to be poached for timber and other things until 1900.
Which doesn't surprise me at all. Unfortunately.
And we'll get to more of that in a minute. For now, I want to talk about the fucking super deadly volcano that we are all just living amongst peacefully.
Hold on,
It is the largest volcanic system in North America, and I think the second largest in the entire world, if I'm not mistaken. Its last big eruption was 630,000 years ago. Some say it's due for another one soon. Some say not. The eruption that was 630,000 years ago was more than 1,000 times larger than the famous 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens in Washington. I'm not going to go too much more into it. Just know that if the sumbitch blows, it's bad news. Me and Brad Choma talked about it in depth in episode 187 from our archives, where we talked about the top 10 impending deadly natural disasters. But we're probably fine in our lifetime and the next few lifetimes, but eventually some bitch gonna blow
You never
again.
know. You never know.
You never know. That was number 4, Yellowstone. You also so far have number 7, Acadia, number 8, Grand Tetons. Have we just talked about those 3?
And Zion.
Oh,
at
Zion at
3.
number 3. Yeah.
All right, let's stick out there in that same part of the country, Utah.
Oh, by the way, wait, never mind. I got
You want to interrupt
Go
me
ahead.
again?
Utah.
Jesus Christ.
Buster's trying to recompose himself because of all the
I need a
interruptions
minute.
he's faced
I
with.
need at least 5 minutes for deep breathing exercises.
Okay, I'll put on some elevator music while we do that.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
That started the McDonald's theme song. Don't think I didn't know this. Da-da-da-da-da. I'm loving
Fucking
it.
hating it, Nick. Okay. Arches National Park.
Nope.
God
Any other bad guesses?
damn it. Canyonlands?
Nothing else in Utah. Nothing else in Utah.
I'm surprised the Canyonlands and Arches aren't on there. I know Capitol Reef's not, even though I think it's unique. It's kitschy, but yeah, I don't think it draws in people.
Nope.
All right, going south to Arizona, show me Grand Canyon.
Now the Grand Canyon. That's a big one.
It's a little big.
Where do you think it is?
Arizona, bitch. Said it.
I mean, on the list, bitch.
2.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Now I really want you to think about it because you've not had a good record today.
You only asked
wanna
me if
give
I'm
you a
sure
chance to redeem
when
yourself.
I get it right.
You're sticking with it. It's your funeral.
100%.
You're sticking
Let's
number
do
2. You're right. At number 2, Grand Canyon. 4.7 million. Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Finds a nut eventually. That's how that saying goes, right?
1919, this big old canyon was established. It was carved by the mighty Colorado River. It's 277 miles or 446 kilometers long, up to 1 mile deep and up to 15 miles wide or 24 kilometers.
Oh.
Millions of years, allegedly, of erosion have resulted in a massive 3-tiered canyon, exposing the multicolored layers of the Colorado Plateau and mesas and canyon walls.
Almost as wide and gaping as
Yeah.
my ex-wife. I
That's my
couldn't even
joke,
get through
but-
it.
No, it was good. It was good. You like Grand Canyon? You've been?
I like Grand Canyon. It's neat. I was young. I was 21 when I went, and I don't feel like I was in the right mindset to appreciate it as much as I should have, so I would love to return.
You were drunk off your ass.
I would
just
love
admit
to
it.
return.
Who did you go with?
I went with our mutual friend, Stephen Clark of the Tinnish Pod.
Yeah, where was I?
Fucking off who knows where.
I don't know where I was. I don't remember you guys
We
going,
went
but
on
yeah,
the
okay.
way to Vegas.
Oh, that's why. Yeah, I didn't go on that trip. Okay. So, I wasn't invited, not a friend, got it. Grand Canyon at number 2. It is a beautiful place. I only went once as well as a teenager. I hope to go again soon. The park's central feature is the Grand Canyon, a gorge of the Colorado River. It's often considered one of the wonders of the world.
Yeah, it's neat. One of my fun facts about the Grand Canyon that I think about and associate with every time I think about it now. When we went to Botswana on our safari trip, and I was talking with the guide who gets to see lions and rhinos and elephants and giraffes in the wild every day and has like what I would consider one of the coolest, most surreal jobs in the world. And I was just kind of asking him, have you ever been to America or no. The conversation started by like that safari was something that I would answer as like one of the top few things I'd ever want to do in my life. I'd want to go on a safari and see wild animals in Africa. So I kind of asked him like, where in the world do you want to go? And he said, it just happens to be in America. And I said, oh, where do you want to go? And he said, the Grand Canyon.
He was like Waffle
And it
House.
just blew my mind because this guy gets to drive and be on safari every day. And where he wants to go is someplace that many Americans take for granted, the Grand Canyon.
Take for granted,
And I
yes.
asked him why. And he said, well, like we get to see animals all the time that are super neat. And I know how valuable that is for us. But where we are in Botswana doesn't have a lot of geographical diversity. There's not a lot of like colorful canyons and mountains and such. And it really made me start to think and appreciate about the variety of landscapes that national parks in America offer and why he might be drawn to the Grand Canyon of anywhere in the world. That's where he wants to go.
America is a super diverse country with geographically speaking, climate speaking. And part of it is it's so big. It's the third largest country in the world by land area.
Behind Russia and Canada.
Yeah, Grand Canyon. And like you said, I think a lot of Americans, and us to an extent, you can't help but take it for granted. But because it's always been there. Yep. But it is beautiful. And like I said, I hope to go again soon. And President Roosevelt agreed, because President Teddy Roosevelt said in 1903, "The Grand Canyon fills me with awe. It is beyond comparison, beyond description, absolutely unparalleled throughout the wide world. Let this great wonder of nature remain as it is now. Do nothing to mar its grandeur, sublimity, and loveliness. You cannot improve upon it, but you can keep it for your children, your children's children, and all who come after you as the one great sight every American should see." Can't get a bigger endorsement than
now,
that.
in my memory, it's not my favorite. I'll say it's great, but I don't think it's my favorite national park.
I will say it's less diversity than like Yellowstone or somewhere like that, or Zion has a lot of different things to see. Grand Canyon's just one big thing.
Right, but one would probably argue with us that you can see it from the top, you can go down inside, you can you can
much like your ex-wife, you can see it from the top, see it from the inside.
Raft down the river. So many things you can do.
So you got 2 and 3, Grand Canyon and Zion. You haven't even come close to number 1 yet. I will say number 1 surprised me greatly. And number 1, just so you know, Grand Canyon had 4.7 million visitors. Number 1 has 13 million visitors.
Dang. Okay.
And I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I just am kind of planting the seed that it surprised me.
I wonder if it has to do with its location. Easier access
Maybe.
To a major metro.
Where do you want to go next?
Hey, yeah. Let's go up to Washington State. Are any of those 3 in the top 10?
And actually, yes, but before you do that, I have to pause, and I just uncovered a note I forgot to say earlier. I have to give a shout out to this idea to longtime listener and Tennis Pod Plus member Ian, who he might still, but he at least used to work for the National Park Service. He gave me this list idea years ago, and I kind of forgot about it until I came across it again recently. So, Ian, thank you for this idea, and thanks for your support over the years.
Tennis Pod Booty Shorts. All right, I'm going to go with Mount Rainier National Park.
Nope.
Not on there.
I wish I could give it to you. Have you been to that one?
I have been, yes.
Yeah, I have seen it from afar. I did not actually go to the mountain.
All right, Olympic National Park.
Olympic National Park is here. We're just going to sit here in silence
9.
forever, or are you going to tell me a guess?
10.
Damn it. Olympic National Park. It's in Washington with 2.9 million visitors last year. It is a recent national park established in 1938. This park is on the Olympic Peninsula, includes a wide range of ecosystems from the Pacific shoreline to temperate rainforest to the glaciated alpine peaks of the Olympic Mountains, the tallest of which is Mount Olympus. And the Hoh and Quinault rainforests are the wettest areas in the contiguous United States. Again, other than my first wife.
Sure.
Who is the wettest. You've been to Olympic National Park?
I have. And what a fairy tale style forest where moss and ferns.
I love Washington, just the whole state.
Cover every square inch. I did not feel like I was in my home country anymore when I was out there. What a neat place. If you're a Twilight fan, Forks, Washington's right there. You can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Just saying.
I didn't expect a Twilight reference today, but yes, Twilight took place in Forks, Washington, near there. Olympic National Park, very beautiful. Now, let's take a quick break to tell you the largest national park is not on this list. Do you know what it is? The largest by land area.
Banff?
No, where's that?
Montana. No, it's in Canada. Sorry.
No, that's not a U.S. national park.
Largest?
It's in Alaska.
Oh, okay.
The 3 largest, in fact, are in Alaska. And the largest is Wrangell St. Elias in Alaska. It's also one of the least visited parks because it's hard to get to. But that park is 3 times bigger, listen to this, 3 times bigger than the Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, and Yosemite combined. 3 times larger than those combined. And that's in Alaska. And that's just a part of Alaska. Alaska's a huge fucking place.
Right.
People forget. So that's Wrangell St. Elias. Now, the 3 biggest parks are all in Alaska, like I said. There's that one. There's also the Gates of the Arctic and Denali. Gates of the Arctic is the least visited park with just 10,000 visitors last year. It's very difficult to reach. There aren't even any roads to get to it. So I mentioned something in that part of this episode that should give you a hint on the next guess.
In what part of the episode? You mean like literally 30 seconds ago?
Yes.
Thanks for your
It's 3 times
Thanks
bigger
for your recap
than
of material from a minute ago. I there's no way I could have remembered something that happened like 90 seconds ago. You
All right, asshole. Then tell me.
Well, hold
Go ahead
on.
and guess correctly without... No, you got to guess correctly because it was just a minute ago. I don't need to recap it.
Show me Yosemite National Park.
Yosemite is number
1.
6. Man, 6 times a bigger number than the one you said. Wow. Yosemite is located in California. There were 3.9 million visitors last year, and this is the second oldest on the top 10. 1890 it was established. It features sheer granite cliffs, exceptionally tall waterfalls, and old-growth forests at a unique intersection of geology and hydrology.
I
What?
don't know. Sentence,
What about
sentence
that's
made me
funny to you?
laugh. I don't know.
Exceptionally tall waterfalls and old-growth forests at a unique intersection of geology and hydrology. That's fun. Okay, that's hilarious, I guess.
The intersection of
Like, I didn't know I was a
geology and
comedian with that
hydrology,
sentence.
like I get what they're trying to say, but it just doesn't roll off the tongue very well.
Well, tell me if this rolls off the tongue. The Half Dome and El Capitan rise from the park's centerpiece, the glacier-covered...
It might have rolled off the tongue well if you could
glacier-carved
read.
Yosemite Valley, and forms its vertical walls drop Yosemite Falls, one of North America's tallest waterfalls at over 2,400 feet, or 739 meters. Have you been to Yosemite?
No, I want to.
I don't think you've been to California, period.
I have,
you?
but I've only been to 2 national parks there, and Yosemite's not one of them.
Oh, okay. I went when I was like a baby, so I get credit for going, but I do not remember
We were
it at
supposed
all.
to go, and we had got one of the lotteries to ascend Half Dome from the backside. You have to go up kind of a wooden ladder thing that's on a 45-degree scalable rock that goes way up. But COVID happened, so we couldn't take our trip, and we never went.
It's always COVID with you. COVID's the excuse for everything.
So yeah, there you go.
The backside of Half Dome. Are we talking about your ex-wife again?
Yosemite's
No,
also
Yosemite
beautiful. Very bright, like
Yeah.
white-ish, silverish rocks against very dark green trees.
Well, all these parks are beautiful, bub. Now, this is interesting. You didn't think we'd talk about Abe Lincoln today, but here we go. Yosemite was critical to the development of the concept of national parks. Galen Park and others lobbied to protect Yosemite Valley from development. This is way before the national parks. Again, the first national park was Yellowstone in 1872. Lincoln was president in the 1860s. So he signed the Yosemite Grant of 1864 that declared Yosemite as a federally preserved land. So thanks, Abe.
He's still killing it from the grave.
He's still killing it. Before they killed him, he killed it. So you still need numbers 9, 5, and 1. And there's a really obvious one. I'm surprised you haven't guessed
Yeah, I
yet.
know. It's going to hit me upside
Given
the
that-
face, and I'm going to be cursing myself.
You fucking lived there.
Huh?
You lived near there.
Oh, yeah. Duh. That's not number 1, is it? Okay, Rocky Mountain National Park. Rocky Mountain High, Colorado.
Okay. Do you want to guess 9 or 5 or 1?
5.
A broken clock can be right twice a day. Rocky Mountain National Park number 5 in Colorado, where Buster lived for, 5 or 6 or 7 years, and he somehow didn't guess it. 4 million visitors in 2023, established in the year 1915. It has sweeping alpine vistas. The park contains 150 lakes and 450 miles of streams, plus ecosystems ranging from wetlands to pine forest to montane areas and alpine tundra. This is the one national park that I went to with Dr. Buster.
Yes, sir.
We went there. We hiked.
We did.
An increase in average temperature in the Rocky Mountain region has been correlated to a decrease in snowfall that melts earlier in the year, attributing to drier summers and longer fire seasons. In fact, the Rocky Mountain National Park is expected to see one of the largest increases in number of wildfires in the entire United States, with an increase in both duration and intensity for wildfires in general.
That's just part of your liberal agenda.
Bub. Yeah, so all these national parks are being affected by climate change, but this is a very clear example where the snowfall is melting earlier, the summers are getting drier, the wildfires are getting more intense.
Yeah, I think in general, a large portion of the Colorado mountain range where the Rockies are cut through the middle of the state are experiencing more forest fires and worse forest fires on average with each passing year. So it's not good.
You just need someone up there raking the leaves, Buster. Didn't you hear Trump years ago? Someone just needs to get up there with a rake.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So, Rocky Mountain as well as, well, much better than
Yeah.
I do. So what do you want to say?
Rocky
about it?
Mountain National Park, beautiful place. There's a handful of hikes that are a lot more popular than the others. And so therefore they're a lot busier. They are beautiful, but it's a pretty big park with a lot of back access, and like Nick said, it's a nuanced place. If you just spent like a week or a weekend there, you might have a picture in your mind, which I think any of us have who don't get to live near a national park. But I lived about an hour from it for 6 years, and it was really nice to be able to go so frequently because I got to see other sides of it that were really neat, and I really enjoy it.
I think I've been 3 times, but every time I've been, including with you, we end up taking trails. I went with Steven once too, I think. We end up taking trails that, like, sometimes you don't see anybody for hours. And I like that. It's a very different experience than I had at, like, Zion, where it's crowded everywhere you go. And I still love Zion, and I'm still glad I went. But it's nothing like my experience at Rocky, where you get up to, like, this, top of the mountain or pretty close, and there's no one around. And you can look and you can fuck and 69, do anything you want up there.
And
no
depending
one
on
will
time of year, there's so much good camping up there. Great spots that are pre-made. I don't think you even have to get a pass for a lot of them. You can just hike out, camp, come back, and there's not as much large game wildlife to worry about like there is up in Tetons, Yellowstone, and in Montana. You don't have to, unfortunately, you don't have to worry about grizzlies anymore in Colorado because they essentially went extinct. They all migrated north and they were all killed off, so there's no more grizzlies in the state. It's all black bears now. We still have to contend with moose and elk, but yeah, it's a beautiful place.
We love our elks. We love our Rocky Mountains. But you haven't even come close to guessing number 9 or 1.
Show me Sequoia National Park in California.
You are in the right state, but the wrong park.
Redwoods National Park.
I think that's a good guess. It's not even in the top
Big
15.
Sur, Death Valley. Joshua Tree?
Joshua Tree. I have not been. I've heard it's great. Have you been?
Maybe I'm naive, but I don't really have any interest in going.
I like desertous
It reminds you of your personality?
areas.
Or, yeah.
Yeah. And like my personality, very dry there in Joshua Tree at number 9. It's in California with 3.3 million visitors. In fact, this is the new, I think I said something else was the newest, but this is the newest national park on the list. 1994. This was established as a park. It covers large areas of the Colorado and Mojave deserts and the Little San Bernardino Mountains. This desert landscape is populated by vast strands of Joshua trees. There's also sand dunes, dry lakes, rugged mountains, maze-like clusters of Monzo granite monoliths. Now, speaking of those trees, it is forecasted that by the year 2099, which is what, 75 years from now, under the high emission scenario, the park will increase in temperature by 8 degrees Fahrenheit. This would make most of the national park unsuitable for Joshua tree growth, and under the low emission scenario, 80% of suitable Joshua tree habitat could be lost. So, Joshua Tree, it's named after the Joshua Tree, and that tree might not even exist there in the next 100 years.
Unless humans can get our shit together and stop fucking up the rest of the planet for our convenience.
Can you think of a word? Well, I'm sure you can, but one of the worst things I can think of is to vandalize a national park. But during the 2018-2019 federal government shutdown, Joshua Tree was targeted for vandalism. Visitors chopped down Joshua trees, set fires, and drove off-road and spray-painted rocks.
Why?
Why did you do that, Buster?
What is the point?
I don't know. They were protesting something. I don't remember what it was.
Well, I guess their cause was won because no one gave a shit nor remembered that it happened. And if they did, they don't know why.
It's just like recently when people in Europe were vandalizing famous art in museums to prove some point.
Seems counterproductive.
That's just counterproductive.
You just end up making people who weren't aware of the situation mad at you, the person who did it, and it's not more likely to change their mind about the situation.
Now, Joshua Tree is in California. California has more national parks than any other state. It has 9. The next state is 8. Alaska with 8. Utah has 5, and Colorado has 4. In all, there are 30 states, as well as some territories, that have a national park. 20 states, including Oklahoma, where I live, do not have a national park. However, all 50 states have some sort of national park service unit like national battlefields or seashores or monuments. Buster, do you know the newest national park?
I do.
It was declared such in December 2020.
Yeah, Great Sand Dunes National Park, just 45 minutes southeast of Chicago.
Maybe that was 2020 as well, but that's not the one I have. The one I have is New River Gorge in West Virginia.
Okay.
Enough of your misinformation and fake news.
Damn.
And unlike the presidential debate, we do fact check here, Buster.
Yeah,
That was
most
wrong.
certainly.
So you just need number one, and you have not even mentioned it, or not even the states that it's in.
Man, that is, it's going to slap me across the face when I mention
I've never
it.
been. I don't think you've been, but
And it's in
maybe
more
I'm
than
wrong.
one state?
It's in 2 states.
Give me a hint that won't make it obvious.
It's part of the Appalachian Mountains.
Oh, interesting. So is it the Great Smoky Mountains National Park?
Great Smoky Mountains National Park is number
Wow,
one.
that's the most
And
visited.
not only is it number one, it's been number one every year since 1944.
Do you think that's just because it's near so many inhabited places and it's not that far from a lot of different cities?
It could be, but think about like Washington. Think about California, the most populated state in the country. Like, why aren't those parks higher? I don't know. I mean, so Great Smokies in North Carolina and Tennessee, and there's definitely large populations around there, but it's not like my mind goes to those places as like the central hub of the country or anything. So,
But it's
I don't
easily
know.
accessible
It's
from the Northeast, New York, Boston.
Yeah, but so is there's other parks up there. Like, I don't know. It's just like Niagara Falls. Is that a national? That might not be a national park. I don't know.
I think that's a national monument.
I don't know if it's a monument, but it's some national something, but not a park. Anyway, this is number one. It's been number one for, 80 years? And also, it's almost 3 times as many visitors as the number 2 park, Grand Canyon. 13 million visitors
That is
last
wild.
year. The Great Smoky Mountains are part of the Appalachian Mountains, and they span a wide range of elevations, making them home to over 400 vertebrate species, 100 tree species, and 5,000 plant species. Now, hiking is the main attraction with over 800 miles or 1,300 kilometers of trails. Tourism to the park contributes an estimated $2.5 billion annually into the local economy. And well, here's one reason, not the main reason, but one reason why it's so visited. The celebrity status of country music singer and actress and listener of the show, Dolly Parton, who grew up in nearby Pittman Center, Tennessee, brought further attention to the park in the late 19th century and beyond, because in 1986 she co-founded the theme park Dollywood in Pigeon Forge. Dollywood resulted in a further tourist attraction boom in Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, and Seaverville that continues to the present day. And I read that Dollywood's the second most visited tourist attraction in Tennessee.
Yeah, I think the Great Smoky Mountains National Park gets tacked on as an afterthought, an appetizer, or a tag team combo to people's other vacation plans. Now, don't take personal offense, anyone out there, if the Great Smoky Mountains National Park is your favorite. But when I was just Google imaging it, hey, it's pretty, but it would not. I have not visited it, to be fair, but I just anticipate it wouldn't be my favorite. So it surprises me.
It sounds like you're being unfair.
There's
in fact.
something else going on here, I suspect, that makes it number one.
I agree there's something going on. I couldn't really tell you what that is outside of Dollywood and its location. Those 2 things alone, to me, don't equate to 3 times the amount of visitors as
Right.
Grand Canyon. But it's a mystery, bub. It's a mystery. We'll never know.
Because there's mountains all over the place, and they're smoky, they're misty, cool.
What about Colorado? Rocky Mountains are almost right in the middle of the country. Like, why isn't that more visited? I don't know. It's weird. Okay, well, I'm going to go back through the top 10. I want you to keep track on your own, and I'll do the same of how many of these you've visited. Number 10 is the Olympic National Park. Number 9 is Joshua Tree. Number 8 is the Grand Teton Mountains, or actually just Grand Teton National Park. Number 7 is Acadia. Number 6 is Yosemite. Number 5 is the Rocky Mountain National Park. Number 4 is Yellowstone. I'm going to count that for myself since I'll be going there later this month. Number 3 is Zion. Number 2 is Grand Canyon. Number 1, with 13 million visitors last year, is the Great Smoky Mountains.
Okay.
I have visited, if you include Yellowstone, I've visited 6.
Oh. Okay. I visited 7 of them.
Ugh.
So I would guess the only one you haven't is the Tetons, right?
I've not been to the
Right.
Tetons.
That's our only
no.
different one.
And there's a chance I will head up there when I'm at Yellowstone. We haven't really decided yet. So if I do that, then that would put me
If
at
you
7
have
as well.
time, do it. I highly recommend it. Go beyond Jenny Lake. start doing the hikes into the actual range beyond Jenny Lake, and you will thank yourself. But be fucking
We'll see how many of my in-laws are
careful
still
about
alive at that time.
grizzly bears and moose.
But when I have the raw meat tied around my in-laws' legs, like, I can't be too careful. I have to be up there with them. So, well, this is a fun episode. I love learning about our amazing planet. And I hope that we can continue to conserve them for as long as possible. This has been the top 10 most visited national parks. And for you, the listener, I'd love to know your thoughts on the national parks, which you have visited, which you have not. And if you agree with Buster's take, that number one on this list, the Smoky Mountains, are dog shit. I think that's a direct quote. He said they're fucking dog shit. Anyone who likes them is an idiot. I think that's the quote he said. Let me know if you agree. Hit me up on social media at 10ishpod. That's at 10ishpod. I want to remind you that as this episode drops on August 7th, tomorrow, August 8th, we will be live on YouTube. I hope you'll join us 9 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, August 8th on YouTube. If you can't make it, you should still subscribe to our channel because we'll be doing other live streams in the future. Buster, I'll be back next week with 271. I'll be joined by, who am I with? Stephen Clark will be here. And I'm going to ask him.
What are you going to ask him?
I don't remember.
Bullshit. You better think about what you're going to ask him.
That's it. I'm going to think about it. Buster, what are your closing thoughts? Give us a tattooable quote like Theodore Roosevelt.
It's not going to be tattooable because it's going to be long. But when you think about the national parks and you see them and you think, wow, they're so vast and expansive and it's so much land, remember to zoom all the way out to the total area that the United States of America covers. And what I hope we start to see is that we shouldn't just care about these very tiny, small blips on our whole map. Preserve those and say that those are the ones that we should take care of and leave for animals and let be natural. I hope with time, humans will wisen up and give back more and more land so that instead of just being tiny little freckles across the United States, we could actually give back a sizable portion of it and let Mother Nature just rest and be amongst us. We don't have to Starbucks, Nordstrom Rack, and football stadium up the whole country. We can have our National Park Service be a lot bigger than it is today, and that's what I'm hopeful for in the future, but I don't know what the future actually holds.
What you're forgetting is all this is a moot point because the Yellowstone supervolcano is going to kill us at any second. So none of this matters. Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Buster, and thank you to the listeners. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you next time.